All righty, good morning, everybody. I'm going to ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our County Commission meeting. On the end of the desk here, right by Commissioner Heiberger, is all the documents for anybody that would like to review them. They are also available in the county auditor's office at any time if you'd like to see the public records. If you have a cell phone, you may want to silence it to avoid embarrassment, and if you need a listening device, ask one of our county staff. They can help you out. Call our meeting to order and move into our routine business and look for a motion to amend the agenda to remove item 13.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our agenda is now amended, and now I'm going to look for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Our agenda is approved. Now I'm going to look for a motion to correct the commission meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2021, to correct the motion by Benega and second by Heiberger to authorize chair to sign a 12-month lease agreement between Minnehaha County and Four Fat Guys LLC for fleet truck storage during the construction of the new highway shop. There were 4 ayes. Commissioner Bender was not present for the vote. That's the amendment, so I look for a motion to.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now I look for a motion to approve our amended meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2021.
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have bills to be paid in the amount of $7,742,145.68.
Pay the bills.
Second.
Second comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask our auditor, Ben Kite, to make some comments on the bills.
Good morning, Auditor Kite.
And let me say, he's doing a great job.
Thank you for that. I think we'd all agree.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Ben Kite, Auditor's Office. Yes, so I thought it'd be helpful just to kind of highlight some of the diversity we have in the bills that we pay on a regular basis. So, for example, for this week, we did pay about $4,000 in ambulance fees for transportation on the corner and other items. Publishing fees, we paid out $7,000 for all the public notices we pay out. So that's for a 2-week period. We had 2 funerals that we paid for, totaling $3,000. Jail had to feed its inmates for the 2 weeks. That cost about $45,000. Mental evaluations, we spent about $34,000 in mental evaluations. Highway Department, they did a variety of things, micro-surfacing, they spent about $725,000 on that. Culvert replacements, a couple $100,000 on those. Public library, we support the public libraries around the county. We contributed about $320,000 to the public libraries. Treasurer's Office also collects state motor vehicle fees. We remit those back to the state. Collected about $4.2 million in motor vehicle fees that we remitted. So that's of the $7 million, that's obviously the largest portion. Fire premium, so there's a special tax assessed to insurance companies around the state that helps fund our volunteer fire departments. We allocated about $780,000 from that, so it's kind of a pass-through. But again, it just kind of highlights the diversity of monies and bills that we pay on a regular basis, and I think it's just kind of important for the citizens to understand that.
Amen to that. Nothing more diverse, I don't think, than county governance. Thank you, Ben. All righty. So we have a motion and a second to pay our bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. We have numerous reports. I never know if I'm supposed to read these, so I will. We have Planning Department Building Permits Report for July. We have our Mobile Crisis Team Statistics for June. We have the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Report for July 2021, the Register of Deeds Statement of Revenue for July 2021, the Auditor's Office financial reports for July 2021. And I think, Susan, you're going to comment on that. So while she's walking up, again, all these reports are in that binder and available in the Auditor's Office as public records.
Good morning. Susan Beeman with the Auditor's Office. We just want to highlight a few things in our financial documents that were provided to you. On the general fund cash balance, we just wanted to note that you'll see a decrease in that fund cash balance of roughly $13.3 million. That is due to our transfer of some dollars from the general fund to the building fund, as you were briefed on and approved back in July. So that transfer was processed in the month of July. Related to, if we'll go down a couple of slides from there, just related to the expenditures year to date. So on page 3 of our report. Just wanted to brief you very high level related to where we're trending on our expenses from actual to budget. Our personnel expenses are trending favorable to budget as expected. Our other expenses for our general fund are overall trending as expected. We do want to note that we do have one area of our budget that is trending unfavorable that we want to call your attention to, and that is some unfavorableness in our jail contract services budget line item. We are have spent about 81% of our budget for that contract service line, which is our health care costs for our inmates. And that is something that you were briefed on back in January, but we just wanted to make sure you were aware that we are still showing that trending, that we have some extra dollars that we're spending in there that were not in the budget at the beginning of the year. Warden Matson is here if you have any questions, but Sheriff Milstead and his team are aware, and we're continuing to monitor that.
Yeah, I just would note that we were briefed about it back in January, which seems like 2 decades ago almost to me, but it had a lot to do with the transition of our jail medical contract and some bills that were delayed by the previous provider that, in a fairly large amount, about $1 million, that we then had to pay to get transitioned out. And so we are aware of it, and as she said, Warden Matson is here, and it has been taken into account this should resolve itself this year, and we should be right on budget next year for where we are dealing with the same thing that people all across our market are, is that workforce is scarce, and you got to pay to get quality medical care, particularly nurses are very hard to recruit. But I think Warden Matson could speak to this. I think we're happy with the kind of medical care that we're getting at this point.
Morning, Warden.
Mike Matson, Warden of the Minnehaha County Jail. Absolutely. The transition has gone very well. We're very happy with the quality of care that we're getting from our medical team. And some of these expenses are just come along with COVID. They come along with the wages, with the recruiting, and staffing those positions that our previous vendor didn't even staff. So we are where we need to be. As we mentioned in January, we were projecting we were going to be over, and that projection is coming to fruition. We're going to continue to monitor it, and we'll absolutely keep the commission in the loop.
Thank you.
Are we, if you don't mind, kind of tracking with where we were anticipating to be? I mean, it's no surprises since then?
Nope, no surprises since then. If I'm calculating correctly, I'm guessing we're going to be about 600,000 where we're going to have to supplement.
Okay.
So that's with some estimated costs over the next several months. We could be more favorable where we don't have as high as expenses, so that number might come down a little bit, but it might go up a little bit too. It just depends. For those off-site care things, if people have to go to the hospital, if somebody has a serious illness, and we're responsible for that medical cost, the medical cost is the medical cost. And unfortunately, that's part of our business.
In our jail, we take care of you. Commissioner Barth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Warden, over the years, there's been efforts to allow people that have insurance to have that cover them. For example, veterans who have not been convicted of a crime but are staying in our place. There was a hope that we could get their insurance to cover them while there. People on Medicare, people with private insurance. Has that changed at all, or are we still paying for every single cent of medical care for people in our jail?
Everything that I've been told is we cannot go with a person's private insurance if they're in our custody. It's something I can check back into it again.
No, that's fine. This has been an issue for many years.
But
You know, the veterans, for example, they have very strong benefits, but they lose those the minute they walk in your door.
Correct.
And I believe the same thing for Medicare and Medicaid, correct?
Yep, we do, our claims do get adjusted to the Medicaid rate. And that's one of the things that that CMM does for us, is they calculate that rate and are in very good communication with the community providers as far as billing goes. Previously, we were 2 months behind on our true-ups. We're only 1 month behind with CMM, so it's, for projections and seeing where we are for tracking, it's been much better.
Commissioner Iberger?
I was just going to say that National Association of Counties continues to work with law enforcement across the nation to try to figure out how to solve this problem of Medicaid and Medicare and veterans benefits being taken away from people who have not been convicted of a crime and who are actually pre-adjudicated when they're put into jail. At times they have lost their privileges, even though most of us feel like they should not have. So that continues to be a work in process for our National Association.
All righty.
I knew Cindy would know.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, Susan. Any other?
Just maybe one comment on our last page related to revenue. Our revenue is trending as expected. The only thing that of note that I would mention for the month of July that was a favorable change compared to budget is we did receive roughly $418,000 from the South Dakota Reinvestment Payment Program. That was like a sales tax rebate that had come to the commission within the last month or so. So we did receive those funds, and those are reflected, and so we are reporting a favorable to budget for other revenue.
Okay, excellent. All righty.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much. We also have the auditor's account with the treasurer for June, and the Highway Department monthly construction projects update are all included in our reports. Moving on to personnel actions, look for a motion to approve routine personnel actions.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Good morning. Carrie, we have some special personnel actions.
Yes, good morning. Carrie Deaver from Human Resources. I have 2 related personnel actions for your approval today. One is to hire Jim Larson as a Southeast Tech security officer for the sheriff's office at $23.03 per hour, effective 8/16. The related action is to adjust the rate of pay for Terry Mixel from his current step of 13.3 to 13.8, which has a rate of pay of $23.60. The reason for this request is that this is one of those areas where we know that the salary that we're offering at the base range is below what other comparable positions would pay in comparable entities. For those positions, you might recall that we'll use a salary range of steps 1 through 8. We went out and we had difficulty recruiting again. We were very lucky to find a very, very well-qualified candidate, but would like to go ahead and compensate at a wage that's appropriate given the years of experience and what these positions are paying. In order to do that, then we would need to make an adjustment for Terry, who's currently working for us. So these are the requests for these positions.
Okay, so we have 2 actions. The first, I'd look for a motion to hire Jim Larson as an STI security officer for the sheriff's office at $23.03 hour, effective August 16th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
With a comment?
Yes.
I just would like to note that this is a contracted position for Southeast Tech, so it's a pass-through to the county. I think people watching might wonder why we're providing these positions out at Southeast Tech.
Okay, good. Good point. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we're going to look for a motion to adjust the rate of pay for Terry Mixel, STI Security Officer for the Sheriff's Office from $20.87 to $23.60.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. No comments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on with other HR issues, and that's extended sick leave benefits.
So I'm requesting your approval today to extend our current policy that we have in place for extended sick leave for COVID-related illnesses. In essence, what this does is it provides or treats COVID-related absences or illnesses similar to other serious health conditions, even if it wouldn't necessarily rise to that level. So in other words, employees who are impacted by COVID because they either have it or they're caring for somebody with a serious health condition or there's a daycare or school-related closure could be absent for that. The first 24 hours would be PTO, just like all other serious health conditions, and then the rest of it would be extended sick leave. We had initially asked for and received your approval to extend that through August 20th. Pretty clear we're still being impacted by COVID and anticipate that will occur for a while. So I'm asking for your approval to extend that through the end of the current payroll year, and then we'll revisit it then.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Barth?
I will support this, of course, but at the same time, I wonder how many of our folk have been vaccinated?
And I wouldn't have an answer for that. Unfortunately, we don't know. A lot of our staff, thankfully, were eligible for vaccinations very early in the process since they're certified law enforcement officers. But there was no tracking mechanism to know. That's their information between
Well,
them. and
personally,
the
I'm ready for my booster. The thing is, if people refuse to get vaccinated and get sick so long we have to pay them extra, is that fair to the rest of us?
I think this has been a very quickly developing situation, correct? I think, you know, initially people thought, well, if you're vaccinated, this is how it will impact you. And now we're learning more that even if you're vaccinated, you might be impacted. So
I just have more sympathy for people that are vaccinated that get sick than people that chose to hang out and get sick willy-nilly.
yeah. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, we've seen very few cases over the summer. Unfortunately, that's been a mix of cases, people who were vaccinated who became ill and people who haven't. So
Yep.
I think this is the best way to treat our staff sensibly and make sure that people who are ill are staying home.
All right, so we're just extending what we currently have in place from August 20th to December 24th. Merry Christmas. Look for a motion to approve.
So,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we're going to look for, go ahead, Carrie.
Okay. For the second one, I'm asking to consider a motion to approve updates to our COVID-19 exposure control and time off guidelines. This one is really more about how we treat staff who've been exposed to COVID and don't have it. So really, our procedures, we've talked about the time off side of it. The other part is how we handle isolation and quarantine issues. Because we no longer have a resolution in place that the chair would help make those decisions, I'm bringing this to your consideration. My intent here is really to follow the best advice that we can get, which is the CDC guidelines on how we handle isolation and quarantine issues. So this isn't so much policy as it is procedure for us when we're dealing with staff who've been exposed or who have COVID. So the change here is just to reflect current CDC guidelines that whether you're vaccinated, you're unvaccinated, you wear a mask if you've been exposed. And then as a secondary issue there, because these guidelines do change fairly quickly and we want to make sure that we're doing what we can for our staff to make sure we're handling safely, I'd ask for your support and just following and making sure that just for isolation and quarantine issues that we're following those guidelines. Any procedural issues regarding leave or practices regarding masking, I would bring back to the commission, of course.
Comments? Commissioner Bender?
I mean, I think this approach makes the most sense. It's very consistent to what we've done since the onset of COVID, is try to follow CDC guidance with respect to how employees should isolate, how long they should be out of work and quarantined. And I don't anticipate that would change. But the CDC guidance, unfortunately, does seem to change with some frequency. And I think Carrie and her group have proved to be trustworthy in handling those appropriately, and I'm comfortable giving them the authority to do that.
Commissioner Heiberger?
I've thought a lot about this over the last couple days. I will be supporting it. There are definitely both sides of thought on this. You can agree or disagree with the CDC, but this is all we have as an employer, and so we need to follow the CDC's recommendations, whether you agree with them or not, whether you think a mask is appropriate or whether you think it's basically a chain link fence trying to keep ants out. It's what we have. And we all know the CDC changes regularly. That's just the way it is. We don't have any better protection for our staff than what we have right now, and I think it's important as an employer of an awful lot of people that we at least set down some type of guidelines to follow. Are they perfect? No, I'm sure they're not. We have no idea which direction to go, but this is where we're at right now, so I will be supporting it. And I thank Carrie for the time she offered me yesterday as we visited about different ideas on CDC and what we would do with our staff, so.
Not seeing any other comments. The only thing I would add is, when it comes right down to it, this is counting on our employees to do the right thing for those people around them, because nobody knows if you were at a family reunion 200 miles away and exposed to COVID. When you come back, we're counting on you to do the right thing, and we're counting on, and this is our policy, and we're just trying to keep everybody safe. So I'm supportive of it too. It's difficult, but necessary. So. Look for,
I was just going to say, along those veins, I was asked a question as I was coming in about people who are sick and if they come to work. And I think the guidelines should still be, whether it's COVID or anything else, if you're not feeling well, you don't want to get your coworkers sick, and you should be taking care of yourself. So we encourage everyone to stay home in that circumstance.
amen to that. Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Barr, second by Bender. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
you, Carrie. All right, we have an application for abatement, RDID 30688-10440, Veterans Exemption, 2020 property taxes in the amount of $2,853.98. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Kyle Sykes with the Equalization Office. Like you said, this is an abatement that's come forward on a veterans exemption, so pretty straightforward on this one. So just need a motion and a second.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll.
Barth.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Heiberger.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Notice and request, we have a Highway Department notice of construction change order number 1 for Highway Project MC 20-01. Pretty cut straightforward. I think it's a decrease, correct? Yep. All righty, so that's no action, just a notice. We have planning and zoning notices, none. We have a petition for compromise of lien. DPNO 47323, an amount of $749.30. Morning, Melinda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Melinda Storley, Commission Office. The action requested today is to consider a motion to compromise the joint lien and release the petitioner from the responsibility of the lien with payment of $260.80, leaving the remaining balance, $488.50, in the name of his ex-spouse. The petitioner is in the process of buying a home he is currently living in for $175,000 and is expecting to close today, August 17th at 4 p.m. The couple separated in November 2005 and filed for divorce on November 2006. The divorce did not finalize till January 2009. He incurred joint poor relief fees of $488.50 during the period the couple was married, and $247.30 for legal representation. They total $735.80, but the lien does include a payment of $475 made by the petitioner via bond money applied to the lien, reducing the fees that he has owed $260.80. His 2020 income taxes show wages of $33,366 with a refund of $7,044. The application lists assets totaling $2,580 and $4,000 in liabilities. He is here if you have any questions.
Petitioners are here.
Yes, they are.
All righty. Questions for Melinda? Any additional comments from the petitioners? No? All righty. Comments by the County Commission. Questions? Commissioner Heiberger?
I would look favorably on moving forward with this. He's already paid $475 because of the bond. He's offering to pay another $260.80, leaving the remaining amount on his ex-spouse. And that's more than 50% of this. And he's paid for all of his public advocates and what he's paying for some of his poor relief. So I would look favorably on this one.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second, but I would also like to comment.
Please.
That there have been no additional charges for more than 10 years.
So we have a motion and a second to compromise the lien for, is it $280 or $260?
For $260.80.
$260.80, all righty. Just looking, roll call or not?
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Bender?
Aye.
Benega? Aye. Heiberger?
Aye.
Barth?
Aye.
Karski?
Aye, motion carries. All righty. Moving on to DPNO 44198, in the amount of $4,119.12.
For this action requested, the petitioner is offering $1,000 to compromise the lien in full. The petitioner is seeking to refinance her home for $75,000 and is hoping to close on August 20th of this year. She shares in her narrative the various hardships that have led her to need to apply for assistance and her attempt to keep up with medical bills and other expenses. She's asking if the board would consider one of two options to compromise the lien. One is to compromise the lien in full with payment of $1,000, or if that's not possible, to consider the second option to release the real property located at 406 North Waltz Avenue with payment of $1,000 so she can move forward with a refinance. The legal description for the property is lots C and D of Johnson's subdivision of part of Tract 5 of County Auditor's subdivision of the northeast quarter of Section 17, Township 101 North, Range 49 West of the 5th PM, Minnehaha County, South Dakota, according to the recorded plat thereof. Her 2020 income taxes show wages of $28,893 with a refund of $5,818. The application lists assets totaling $171,852.84 and $6,284.20 in liabilities. She's not able to make it today due to a work conflict.
All righty. Comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I see that there is a considerable amount owed her by a non-custodial parent, I guess, and that makes me a little crabby that is owed her. You know, when I worked at the phone company, all the people that were supposed to pay child support paid it, and all the people that were supposed to receive it did not receive it. So it's a tough situation. So I'm somewhat sympathetic here. At the same time, I think maybe to counteroffer with, say, $2,000 would be a better option. And for discussion, I'll throw a motion for a $2,000 payment to settle.
So we have a motion. I'm going to let that die for lack of a second and look for other comments or suggestions. Commissioner Heiberger.
I would look favorably on accepting her $1,000 offer, and my reason is all of her issues have been poor relief, and if we keep her in her home with her family, she has children that she's trying to support. She doesn't say how old her kids are, so I honestly don't know. But I feel like we're better off trying to keep somebody in their home than having them lose their home, and they end up more on the, her payments for her house are less than rent payments would be if she's in an apartment. So then we're going to end up, I feel like we could end up paying more on poor relief support when you add in all the expenses that she might have. And I know we usually try to do 50%, but sometimes you have to look at the situation too. And from the narrative, I think that accepting $1,000 and releasing her home is probably the best thing to do. So
I'll second that.
I guess that was a
Other
motion.
comments?
I guess that was a motion.
That was a motion. Okay, second. Other comments? I guess the only thing I would say is, that, and I'm fully on board with what your comments are, Commissioner Heiberger. You know, when you look at the home's value compared to when she purchased it, and she's obviously going to do from what I can understand, a cash out refi and pay off pretty much almost all of her debts, leaving her in a better place. I mean, some of her poor relief has been fairly recent, less than 2 years ago. So I just hope that we don't recycle the problems that we have, but at the same time, doing our best to keep this individual in their home, and making life better for everybody is important, so.
And it would be to release the lien against the home, too. I mean, she asked for 2 different options. I'd go with the first option, which was to a $1,000 payment to release the lien against her and her home. Is that acceptable, Commissioner Barth?
And that would compromise the lien in full then?
Right.
And remove it, so. All righty, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Benega.
Aye.
Heiberger.
Aye.
Barth.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. We are now at the point where we have the opportunity for public comment. So if anybody is here that would like to address the commission about any non-agenda item, we welcome your comments. Just please identify yourself.
Hello, my name is Sarah Koob. I'm from 4509 South Tennis Lane in Sioux Falls. It's been a little bit, guys. God bless you. I hope Jesus and Mary are with you. I really want to comment about COVID. Okay, we have an issue. We have an agency that's run amok. They cannot isolate the SARS novel coronavirus 2 against the flu. That's a problem. Their tests are not reliable. The man who made the PCR test, Kerry Mullis, said it was never meant to diagnose active disease. Never. And there seems to be an agenda to control population movement and to just, it seems almost like a population control plan, and I think it needs to be discussed. We right now have the head of the CDC in front of Congress being called a liar, and the virology is saying that he is. So I'm asking my city, my county, to take a reasonable approach to these people. And part of that, I think, is Physicians Frontiers. There's a group of doctors who have stood up and said that this doesn't make any sense, and none of us are listening to them. And I think it's high time we do. There's a lot of money being thrown around. There's a lot of things like papers, guys. And I'm like, you got to have a passport to get on the interstate? That's what they're talking about. And to me, my concern is that if we demand papers to get on the interstate, we're going to have to put up fences at the state borders to regulate that. And then it's a slippery slope to feudalism and a divorced states of America. So I am asking my commissioners, I'm praying for you. I'm asking Jesus to touch you and to protect the people that you love and serve in the state. Because I think there's an evil coming, and I'm here to warn you. So thank you very much for your time. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Koob. Anybody else here for public comment? Morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Pat Olson. I live at 812 North Prairie. I would, with the recent release of the census last Thursday, I would respectfully request a review of the A1 agricultural zoning districts. In particular, the 1984 moratorium of 1 unit per 40 acres. The demographics are crystal clear. Although in 1980, per the census, there were approximately 109,000 citizens in Minnehaha County. As of last Thursday, 197,214, nearly doubled. But we are still artificially restricting growth denying my neighbors the opportunity to go out and have a horse in a barn due to this onerous zoning code. Although there are a number of other codicils within the A1 zoning district, this one in particular with near record low interest rates, huge demand, the upheaval of the demographics and doubling, the artificially driving up prices of lots and land, and of course denying our fellow citizens an opportunity of a different life, a more rural aspect. Once again, I would respectfully request the A1 zoning be reviewed and maybe offer opportunities for citizens' input in that, because another part of it, of course, would have been the animal facility operations. Of course, with the advent of the announcement of Wheatstone coming in, I perceive the density and intensity issue of animal units should come up on everyone's radar. Although the code allows for spacing, it doesn't speak to animal units. And so being closer to the market, it would encourage individuals to double their operation, which of course would have adverse effects on our roads, traffic, of course, groundwater, aquifers, a number of other things. Thank you for your time. How may citizens participate in augmenting or amending the Minnehaha County zoning ordinances?
We have a planning commission that meets, sir. I would ask you to talk to the planning office and visit with Scott Anderson, our planning department head, and he can fill you in on the best options or best path to accomplishing or having it addressed anyway. So,
I want to thank you for your time. Have a good morning.
anybody else here for public comment? No, okay. All righty, we'll move on to regular business. Look for a public hearing to consider appeal of a decision by the Minnehaha County Planning Commission to approve CUP 2156, et cetera, et cetera. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Hookman from the County Planning Department. All right, so this item here was to have a public hearing for an appeal of a conditional use permit. Yesterday afternoon, we received word that the petitioner was going to withdraw his application and clean up. This morning, we received a fax letter saying just that, and I'll read what he stated. I will no longer be requesting a conditional use permit for my farm at Renner. We will be removing the lime, he says. So I guess at this point, we can just accept the withdrawal and move on. And the staff will monitor his removing of the lime, so that way it's compliance again with the ag zoning.
So, go ahead, Commissioner.
So Kevin, originally we didn't know that this operation was going, right? Then we got complaints from the neighbors and made the operator come in and look for a conditional use permit, which we granted with a 5-year limit on the operation. Then it was found not to be operating under the city rules. Is that right? The line was not supposed to be going out, and like he took it. And the lime was used to treat drinking water before you drank it, not after you drank it.
The city, or the operator, was in violation of the contract with the city to store lime. It had to
And
be
also
applied.
in violation of operating a business without a business.
Correct. So procedurally, I'm looking for guidance here. Since this has been withdrawn, do we have to do anything?
No, I move to,
Legal advice here. What, Mr. Attorney, tell me what we need to do.
Mr. Chair, to clarify the record, it would be my recommendation that you deny the conditional use permit because it's already been granted. It's now been withdrawn, but to clarify the record, just have this board then deny it and then dismiss the appeal as it's now moot because the CUP's been denied, so.
Look
Make
for a
a
motion to
motion for what
deny
he
the
said.
appeal and dismiss the, or deny the conditional use and dismiss the appeal.
What he said.
Okay. So a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Gerald has a point, Mr. Chair.
Here, Mr. Chair.
I just have a quick question. After we are obviously aware of the fact that he has been operating illegally, so to speak, is there a process that we need to pursue or not?
Mr. Chair, there certainly are options within the planning world as well as potential nuisance issues that could be explored. I don't know that you want to get into a full conversation right now,
I'm
but
just wondering at
yes,
this point.
there certainly are potential remedies or options, yes.
I think it's probably safe to assume that he understands that the eyes of his neighbors are upon him, and if anything happens again, it'll probably be reported and dealt with as a illegal operation according to our zoning codes. So, all righty. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, so we have a public hearing to consider the 2021 Burn JAG Program Joint Spending Plan. Captain Bosman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Bosman, Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office. This morning I have in front of you an agenda item for a public hearing on the 2021 annual Edward Byrne JAG program. We call it the JAG, it's Justice Assistance Grant. What it is, it's an award that's given out each year to municipalities and counties based on crime stats that are reported to the federal government. We are a partner in this program with the City of Sioux Falls, so I've got Captain Jeff Garden with me as well from the Sioux Falls Police Department. Part of the program requirements is that we have to have a period of public comment, so anyone that has any questions or concerns about our spending plan on this program has an opportunity to do so. No action is required from the commission other than we just have an opportunity for folks to talk.
So is there anybody here that would like to address this item? Please step forward.
Sarah Kubigan, same address. I would like to ask that our state government sanctify some life here. Make sure that we're not killing people, because that is God's alone. So I ask that, you guys do the best you can on making sure that we're not executing people in South Dakota. Thank you. Have a good day.
Sarah? All righty. The 65-35 split, is that 65 to the county, 35 to the city?
It is not, but it's a good thing then, because that means that we would have a larger violent crime rate in the county versus the City of Sioux Falls. So we were fortunate to take the 35, I think, in this case.
So we still take care of the people they bring to us, okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Iberger.
I appreciate your comment on the 60-30, 60-35, whatever it was, just because you said that the crime is lower than the county, because I always wondered why the split wasn't. I didn't know, maybe it's population more based than crime based, but whatever it is, if it's crime based, it makes me feel better than saying, oh, it's population based, because I have always kind of wondered, and now I know.
Yep, and population and crime rates sometimes do correlate together as well, too. So, yes.
Yeah.
All righty. Any other questions? Any other public comment?
I still don't like it because all of these crimes happen in the county as well as in the city. But to take it another step, I'd like to comment on cameras. And, the camera is just just part of the cost. The full cost of them is, it's sort of like the iceberg where 9/10 is under the water. You get the camera, but then you have to make copies of all the videos. Then you have to archive copies of all that. And that 9/10 is not obvious to anyone other than people like us that pay the bills. And so I welcome more body cameras, but on the other hand, the citizens need to know that these things cost more than just a little badge on your uniform.
If I could add to that, Commissioner, when I was on the city council, I was an advocate for body cams and was informed of the immense cost. Fortunately, as time goes on, the cost of storage and data storage has been slowly decreasing, so that helps. But yes, you are absolutely correct. I mean, it's not the body cam. It has to be stored and maybe used for evidence, and it has to be stored in a method that goes on for a long, long time, so. All righty. All righty. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Be
Appreciate
safe
it.
out there.
Thank you.
All right. Public hearing to consider a special event malt beverage retailer's license for Wood Grain Brewing Company for an event on August 29th, 2021. So look for a motion to approve. Is that what I'm looking for? A motion to approve this?
The public hearing.
Hearing, okay. Anybody here to address the request for a special event malt beverage retail license for Wood Grain Brewing Company?
I'll just address what their application is for. They applied for a one-day permit for a farm-to-table dinner to be held at Cherry Rock Farms, and the applicant was Wood Grain Brewery. They currently hold a liquor license, and it's just a one-day event for a malt beverage retailer's license for that day.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
No comments. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, so now we have a resolution establishing special event on-sale and off-sale alcohol beverage licensing fees. Auditor Kite, this is something new for us.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Ben Kite, Auditor's Office. So the state legislature recently amended South Dakota Codified Law 35-4-11-1. That law always required that each county adopt the number of liquor licenses that it will allow on an annual basis. In addition to that, the legislature amended that law this year to allow counties to offer the sale of off-sale liquor licenses. So prior to this, we've only been able to issue on-sale liquor licenses. So we currently, Minnehaha County currently has 13 on-sale liquor licenses, which was established by the last census in 2020 or 2010. So I've got some recommendations on the number of off sales that we would allow. I have spoken to our Sheriff Milstead, asked his opinion on this. He did not have an opinion on the number of licenses that we should issue. One thing to understand with the issuance of a off-sale liquor license is that we are only allowed to issue licenses that are outside of the 3-mile limit, the city limits of all incorporated communities in the county. So along with the information, I did provide a map for you that highlights the areas that fall outside of the 3-mile limit within Minnehaha County. You can see those, that's quite limited, all that area in pink. I've talked to other counties as well, getting their thoughts on this. So after those discussions, I guess our recommendation was to adopt 13 as the allowable number of on-sale and off-sale. So we've already adopted the on-sale at 13 in prior years. Now I would just recommend that we also include issue or allow the same number of off-sale licenses. And then we need to adopt the charges that we would, what we would charge for each of those licenses. So currently, state law requires us to charge no more than the nearest organized community for on-sale liquor licenses, right? So if you live, if you want to establish a bar outside of Brandon, right, and issue a liquor license, you would pay whatever the city of Brandon would charge. That's like $1 per capita. So, likewise, Sioux Falls, their liquor license is based on population. They charge $1.25 per person, and that's like $193,000. Or you could open up a bar outside of Colton, and it would just be, I think, $1,200, right? So, after kind of considering where these any off-sale licenses would be. Recommendation was that we charge $1,200 for a off-sale license in those areas that are allowable, along with a $500 renewal fee. The $500 renewal fee is the maximum amount we can charge. There's no maximum amount on the license fees for off-sale, but it had to be greater than $300, and $1,200 was the amount that was comparable to other liquor licenses. And then we would also just readopt the temporary alcohol licenses that we have for things such as the special events for malt beverage, on-sale wine, on-sale other special events. We list those there as either like $25 a day generally or $50 a day, plus a publishing fee of $50. That is what the resolution is, basically to get us in compliance with the state law that we need to adopt these fees and the number of allowable licenses by the 1st of September. I would look for your support on that if you have any questions.
Thank you, Auditor. Questions, comments? Commissioner Barth?
Does the census make a difference then?
Well,
Or
yeah,
new
once we
census
get the,
numbers?
I guess we haven't received the official results, right? So people might be interested when I look at the, whatever preliminary census data I could find, we probably will see somewhat of an increase, maybe 3 licenses for on-sale liquor licenses in the county, I would guess.
Well, I'll try not to rant, but, this is like the only way, almost the only way we get any revenue from alcohol. And our costs from alcohol, a weekend in the slammer might lead us to tens of thousands in medical bills for an individual, and yet you can get a liquor license for peanuts. And anyway, that's my normal rant, and thank you.
Other comments? I have one if nobody else does. Next year, we're going to be coming back and
Correct.
revisiting
Yeah,
this.
we'll probably be revisiting this soon.
And I don't have a problem with the 13 or 1,200 and 500, but, when I look at our special, the 1 days at 25, we have people come in and say, I want 10 one-day special permits, and they're spending $250 or whatever. It just doesn't seem to be an equitable system, and I would look in the next year and with, maybe input from the commission, just discussion about the one-day licenses and changing the cost of those. I don't think we're charging enough for what so many one-day requests that we get, so my personal opinion. So
And they don't even invite us.
I have not had an invitation, no. Probably be a conflict of interest. All righty, so look for a.
Chairman, before you, 2 things. Just for the record, Eric Bogue, State's Attorney's Office. Auditor Kite had a very but understandable small misstatement. His memo is spot on, but the law says we cannot charge less than the nearest municipality. It's not that we can't charge more than. You could, theoretically. Most counties do not, so the way his memo is drafted is again, 100% accurate. That's the way the ordinance, or the resolution, I'm sorry, was drafted. I might also suggest that you have the briefing on the ordinance that follows, because they are so closely interrelated. As to the chair's point on the specials, that's a verbatim copy from your existing resolution, MC 2077, I believe. So there's no change there on the rates or the language in the ordinance, so it's exactly what you have been doing. It certainly is probably time for a review, but just wanted to make sure you understand where those numbers had come from. Neither Auditor Kite or myself had changed those. Those were existing rates, so.
Eric?
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask one follow-up question. You noted that in your memo that the formula that we've used for licenses has been 3 for the first 1,000 in population, and then 1 license for each 1,500 in population over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that's created by statute, that formula? Is that something that we have
No, that's created by
voluntarily-
statute.
That is created by statute. Okay, thank you.
All right, look for a motion to approve this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, just another question. If we're allowed to change these numbers, and we've not changed them since I became a commissioner 15 years ago, should we hold on this issue today and do a study of where we would go with it? I see Cindy shaking her head.
I think we're required by statute to have this approved by a certain date.
Yes, so
Yes.
we do need to have them approved by the 1st of September.
If we want to review the numbers, we can renew the numbers later.
Right. There's nothing that would prevent us from coming back to you in mid-September with a new resolution with a new proposal for dollar amounts.
It's fine.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Heiberger, second by Benega. All those in, no, this is a roll call vote, I believe. Yeah, call the roll.
Sorry.
You're kind of getting into my space already.
Heiberger. Barr.
No.
Bender.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, everybody.
5 people with one opinion. Who needs them?
All righty, moving on to, which one are we on here?
We're on
15?
Yeah.
So consider, first reading to consider adoption of an ordinance establishing the requirements, fees, and regulation for the issuance of alcohol beverage licenses.
Yes, working with the state's attorney's office, well, actually, the state's attorney's office drafted an ordinance for us related to the issuance of alcohol licenses. So an ordinance to establishing the requirements, fees, and regulations for the issuance of alcohol beverage licenses within Minnehaha County. The ordinance basically lays out what is required for businesses to be able to qualify for a license and what they must do. It doesn't specify fees. The resolution will take care of that, but it just kind of indicates what needs to be done. One of the items within the ordinance that we'd like some discussion on is when the commission would like us to come up on a annual basis to renew the allowable number of licenses and the fees. So if you look at your ordinance on the first page 1, number 1.1, I guess, we left that blank because we just weren't for sure what do you think would be appropriate time. You know, if obviously we have to have it in place by 1st of September, it might be more appropriate to look at some earlier dates just so we can kind of establish when we should be renewing this.
Why not just do it the 1st of September?
Because it has to be done by that date.
Yeah.
The 1st of August would probably be.
Oh, I see
We
what you mean.
prefer to back up, maybe some even, 1st of June, something like that would, might be appropriate.
I would prefer to do it the 1st of July. That kind of helps us get through the budget cycle, and otherwise I think we tend to get so focused on budget, it might get lost in that process, so.
Okay. So we do that on an annual basis by the 1st of July.
So that would be the 1st of July to determine the number, but it has nothing to do with the cost.
I think we would include that in that, at that time, but I
Okay.
don't think the ordinance, I'm not sure if the ordinance talks to that. I would defer to the state's attorney on this one.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Please.
I certainly understand the logic of a July 1st date, but the date blank that's in the ordinance as prepared is actually the date that the auditor would bring you the number of allowable based on census figures, and we can't adjust that. Census does provide periodic updates to their numbers, so it's not just a decennial period. They can go out more frequently than that. I might recommend that you actually have the auditor bring that number to you probably the 1st of June so that you can act on it in July. I think you'll see most of the counties around us in the past, perhaps even this board had acted on it in July. We're a little bit past our normal date, and part of that is the fact that the legislature did add the off-sale liquor license option for us, and so it caused us to do a little bit more review than we might otherwise do. So A Roman numeral 1, sub 1 is actually asking when the auditor is going to bring you the number of allowable, not so much when you're going to act on it. So I think if he brings you the number in June, you'll be ready to act on it in July, which would, I think, match the intent of, as I understood what you were saying. So.
Maybe we should go then to May, just because like Commissioner Bender said, June gets really crazy with budgets, and that's what you're thinking about. And if we go May, the 1st of May or the middle of May, it gives us a little bit more time than throwing it right in the middle of budgets, and then you're not thinking about it anyway. So,
Mr. Chair, I would tell you on that point, there are some counties that will go with that number presentation as early as February in the year, which I think is maybe a tad early, but May certainly makes plenty of sense too.
I'm hearing May. Any other discussion? How many off-sale liquor licenses are there right now in the county? Do we have a number? Do we know the number?
I don't know. We'd have to canvass all of the individual communities.
It's not more than 13, is it?
Again, I wouldn't have any idea how many are available or for sale. So, I mean, that's another, some more input that we could get from you, going forward, right, if we wanted to adjust those.
And we're capped at 13 by statute?
Correct. Right.
But nobody knows how many we have.
Well, we know that Minnehaha County has issued 13 liquor licenses, right? If you're talking about all throughout the county, I don't know how many cities Sioux Falls has.
No, I'm talking just within the county,
Yeah, so-
outside of the municipalities.
Yeah, so 13 is our number that we have standing.
Currently
Yes.
active.
And that's the maximum that we are allowable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and some of those are, the city growth has gone out and put them within the 3-mile area, but there still are licenses at this point.
Mr. Chair, if I could clarify that, the 3-mile limitation is only on the new off-sale, not
Right.
the on-sale. So the on-sale within the 3-mile are still ours. And so sometimes cities like to grow and capture our license because it gains the license for those municipalities. We can then issue another one on our side of it as well, but it's a little sneaky.
The city
planning
is just such a
mechanism.
horrible thing.
Yeah.
The revenue from alcohol. And it does get muddy, on sale, off sale. All righty. So you said there was one other one?
Yeah,
that
so
you'd like for discussion?
Yeah, so item 6.2 on page 2, wanted your thoughts on this one as well. So occasionally, we will issue a liquor license to somebody who's applied for some rezoning of a property. Maybe they've got some other business that's zoned inappropriate for alcohol. We would issue them a license, but they're applying for rezoning. So how long would we give them to get that process completed and the remodel completed? Is that 3 months? Is that 6 months?
6 years?
4 months?
4 months.
I think we actually had this issue come to us once before. Somebody wanted to buy a license before they had the property built or something, and I think this has come to us once before.
Right. Mr. Chair, if I could explain, again, Auditor Kite's done a good job of explaining. It is a complicated issue. If you look at, again, Roman numeral 2, sub 6, 6.1, talks about the provision of allowing conditional license to be issued if the site is not completely ready yet, but otherwise zoned appropriately. So that would be for the allowances the auditors explained for the construction or finalization of a building. 6.2 would be conversely if the site's ready to go but not zoned for a commercial operation and needs a rezoning. I did discuss this with Director Anderson, and he said that it's at least 3 months. Generally takes no longer than 6, but he said traditionally 4 months is a pretty accurate timetable. So if you were to base on past history, 4 months would be an appropriate time to put into that would allow them an opportunity to get rezoned and have that process finish to be able to use then their conditional license. There is a provision, if you look at 6.3, that if it's not finished, that they could get an extension, so.
So 4 months?
I think 4 would, based on what Director Anderson's saying, would be an appropriate number to put into that blank.
Discussion?
Sounds good to me.
4 months? 4 months it is. All right.
Those are the only discussion items I had on the ordinance.
Okay.
And it is just a first reading, so we'll come back.
So we want to set a hearing date for the second reading, correct?
No.
No? First reading? Okay, well.
No, Mr. Chair, to its credit, Minnehaha County has done more notice than is required under statute. To adopt an ordinance, you're required to have 2 readings. This is the first reading. The second reading has to be no earlier than 5 days after the first reading, but you do not have to schedule a public hearing. And if we do that, you will not get this finished within time to correlate with the rates and the numbers that you set with the resolution. So my recommendation is that you deviate slightly, but follow a statutory provision from your normal protocol, so you don't publish a public hearing and just have the second reading at your next meeting next week, so.
Okay. So we're statutorily and we're fully transparent, and we're going to have our second reading?
Yes, next week.
All righty. Is anybody here for public comment? Seeing nobody come up for public comment, we will, no action on this. It's just a first reading with no action, and we'll talk about it again next week.
Correct.
All righty. Moving on to consider a resolution declaring certain county-owned property as surplus and authorize an appraisal for the 2021 tax deed sale. Good morning again.
Yes. Minnehaha County has in the process of taking tax deeds on certain properties that have not paid their property taxes for 4 years or more. We have identified 8 such properties, working with the Assistant Attorney's Office, and the Treasurer's Office has been doing the bulk of the work on this. But those 8 properties, I'll just briefly list them. You know, we have one on 1230 West 8th Street in Sioux Falls, 325 North Blauvelt, which is an empty lot, 3712 South Terry Avenue, which is apartment number 3 of a small apartment building, condo, 2612 West 12th Street in Sioux Falls, 212 West Russell Street in Sioux Falls, 704 South Kiwanis Avenue in Sioux Falls, 2604 South Melanie Lane in Sioux Falls, and 4208 North Jans Drive in Sioux Falls. But all these properties have been properly served. We've worked with Human Services to contact some of the residents within those, trying to make sure people, have every opportunity to correct themselves. But we would like to, declare these properties surplus, so that I plan to have the appraisal board come on tomorrow, Wednesday, to go out and review these properties and establish a appropriate value, and then we'd come back with that report next week for your, hopefully, approval. But this would allow us to move forward with some sort of sale of these properties in the near future.
Comments? Questions? I get the only question, the vacant lot previously, or the one that burned down, are the taxes due on the property when it was whole with the structure on it?
Yes, so next year, the property, the taxes will diminish greatly, because the house that was there burned down last year, so it's still, if that value, and then next year they will decline to, a more of a empty lot.
Okay. And any of these can be paid at any time and removed from the list up to the date of the sale?
Right. So tentatively, we're looking at September 25th is our for a public auction on these. So anytime anybody could come and pay their properties taxes up to that date.
All right.
And
So
Treasurer Swanson is here too, if you had any questions for her on this.
Not on this, but if you'd stick around for old business, I do have a question.
I'd make a motion to declare these properties acquired through the tax deed process as surplus and authorize selling them. Is that what I need to
So
do?
we look for a motion to adopt the resolution on those.
That's it.
Yep. Okay.
Let's adopt the resolution.
We have a motion to adopt the resolution. Look for a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ben. All right, moving on. Authorize chair to sign change order number 1 to amendment number 1 to the CMAR contract with Henry Carlson for the administration and extension building. Good morning, Carol, and we got a whole crew coming in.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Muller, Commission Office. Before you today is a change order to an amendment on a contract. We'll take you back through that just a little bit. On May 25th, you signed a construction manager at risk, CMAR, contract with Henry Carlson, and that was for the extension and admin remodeling. And you amended that contract on June 1st to reflect the GMP, or the guaranteed maximum price for the extension remodeling. And as you've driven by, you'll notice that there's a lot of work being done, and the roofs, not the roof's coming off, but the slate shingles are coming off on there. The slate roof is coming off. So we can tell there's a lot of work being done on the outside and the inside of that particular project. Today before you is a change order to that amendment, because now we have the GMP for the remodeling of the administrative building. So that change order is for $2,315,900. So we would ask for you to authorize that change order, and we'll continue to move ahead.
All right, questions, comments, motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All righty. Moving on to a briefing on the admin extension building remodel. Mr. Strasburg, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Dick Strasburg with Tegra. So we thought we should probably just give you an update on kind of where we're at with both the extension project, extension admin project, and the highway. So that's the intention this morning. There aren't any decisions that we need. So on the extension project and the admin, I'll just give a quick recall, just a little recap of kind of where we've been with it. We started out, the USD study said that it would be a project to update this building would be $4.6 to $5 million, and to update the extension building was $234,000 to $648,000. And as you recall, we got into it and looked at it and said, you know, this extension building, we probably should do things long-term, because that building isn't going anywhere. It's a good, solid structure, historic building, so we should sort of do things do it right. So some of the things we've included there were looked at upgrading the elevator, mechanical, electrical, windows, some improvements on the exterior, sort of doing that building right. So if we look at the costs on that, do you have the update on that showed the? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so if I'll just kind of walk through kind of what we have there. Okay, so we've got the design fees on it. Not a lot's changed there. So if you look at the extension column, we've got the plan check, project management, legal, commissioning, et cetera, for that building at another couple $100,000. We've got FF&E, which the bids are now finalized. We've got that, you'll be seeing that shortly with a contract, to approve a contract on the furniture, another $125 on that. And then we've got the construction. Now we've got the construction that you approved of the guaranteed maximum price of the 2.3, and then we've got the contingency on it. So that project comes out to a total of $3 million. And then we look at the admin building, and the number comes out about the same. It's a little bit more than that. And so you can see the numbers that range from it's almost 50-50 across the board. There's a few things that change. There's more furniture in this building, for example, than there was in the other building. So that's kind of an update on it. So we've got the 6.1 million. I don't think you've heard that number before. We've talked generally that it would probably be somewhere around 6 million. But I think we're sitting pretty good with it on the contingency we've been through. We know what the surprises are in the extension building. We've been through it. It's opened up. And we had a few things that were positive. One is the architects and engineers had to assume that the structure may have to have some improvements in certain areas, and as we opened it up, it turned out that it was better than what we thought. So we gained 90,000 on that. And then we have other things that have cost more. For example, putting the slate roof on to meet the historical society and or historical preservation people in terms of their standards. So we've spent a little bit more there, but overall it's good. I think that's the message on the extension building. On this building, we haven't opened up yet, so we don't know what we've got yet. So we're holding the contingency, a combined contingency of 271, and we'll see once we start opening things up. And in a building like this, our biggest concern and the risk on it is, if you look above the ceiling here, there's years and years of wiring. Used to be the telephone cable, and now it's got the upgraded cable for higher speed and data, and so and security and fire alarms. Got kind of everything here. So that's probably our biggest concern here is just doing the improvements in here and keeping everything going. So we've got an occupied building, keep everything running, not hurt anything on the mechanical, electrical, voice data. So that's probably the biggest risk here. So that's kind of an update on the extension and admin. Any questions on it? I think some of you have been pretty involved in it.
I would just like to thank the team. I mean, it has been, it's anytime you're doing remodeling, there's extra challenges involved, but I think we've got a great plan, and I'm happy to see things working over on the extension building, and so hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed about the remodeling of this building, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I would agree. We're doing the extension building right, but we're kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit with the admin building, but what it's going to take to make this building, to replace this building and the cost, and we're buying time is all we're doing with what we're doing.
So I think on that front, on this building, after we learned what we did about the building envelope, mechanical, electrical, the systems here, so I think the direction is that we're doing the minimum we can in this building to sort of limp it along, and we'd again encourage to look at the strategic plan and get that going to know if this building's going to last. If it needs to last, is it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20? How long will it be? I think that information will be real helpful on making improvements to like the mechanical system, because you can Band-Aid something along if it's 5 years, but if it's going to be 15, we probably have some different decisions on it. So,
trying to make the best decisions. All righty. So that is a briefing on this. So no other questions. We'll move on to a briefing on the highway facility construction.
So the last time we left, we've got the guaranteed maximum price in place, and we came back with a request for the cost escalation due to what's happening in the commodities market, and you approved the project at $12.9 million. And but what was open on that was within the Henry Carlson contract, they had an opening of saying that if there's additional cost escalation in this bidding climate, that we still have exposure on that. So we thought it'd be good to just come back and give you an update on where we're at. I think we got good news on it. So I'll let Henry Carlson, the one that did all the work on it, so I'll let them present that.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Dave Deary, Henry Carlson Construction. Well, we took the bids for the final package on August 3rd. And I'm really happy to tell you guys that we received really good competitive quotes. And so if we take those results along with the scope modifications we did, if you recall, we dialed the building back because we were concerned about costs. And so those results, plus our scope modifications, reductions, plus our early procurement strategy. If you recall, we actually took bids on the pre-engineered metal building early, ordered it early, avoided actually 3 price increases to date, and brought our M&Es on board early, and avoided additional price increases on their commodities. When I roll it all up, we've got funds available. We've saved enough funds to add back a lot of those amenities that we removed from the project. And so, sitting in a really, really good position. I guess next steps would be to sit down with the building committee and review in detail the results and the savings and discussion of which alternatives the county would like to pursue.
Okay. So you're asking for us to meet as a building committee?
That would be correct. And
Sooner the better, or? Yes, of course. So building committee, next week, Tuesday, is that a possibility, Carol? I know we have a full day next Tuesday. Commission meeting at 9, joint meeting with the city at 4. Might as well add one more thing and start this one at 8.
I apologize because I stepped out. What do we need to cover? The short story?
Review of the bid results and current budget status of the.
So talk about the amenities that could be added back in and the
Yes,
final
we can meet
pricing.
next Tuesday.
So I think an 8 o'clock meeting, and I don't know if there's anything else that we could carry over, but as a building committee, it would probably be a good open forum for discussion. So we will
8
meet.
o'clock?
Will 8 o'clock be early enough? Will 8 o'clock be early enough, Dave, if we have 45 minutes, or do you need more than 45 minutes? Because I don't want to get here and then be crunched for time.
Yeah, I think we should have at least an hour to an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, so
need to go
7:30,
7:30.
building committee meeting next Tuesday. Yay. All righty. And I'll look forward to about 11-hour day on Tuesday. Okay.
Slave driver.
Yeah. I start at 7:30, done by 6, so, okay.
I would just like to make a comment.
Please.
Our experience, obviously, with this process and with Tegra and Henry Carlson to this point has been long and arduous, to say the least. And we started with, I forgot the first number, other than the fact that we almost all had heart attacks.
Yeah.
It was somewhere in the 21 or some $1 million range, and I think we're down to somewhere around 12 to 13 million, which is a credit to all the processes you guys went through and Tegra went through to make this reasonable. And, you know, the county appreciates your dedication to get that done. It was not a fun project or conversations multiple times, but you handled it professionally, and I appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. But please recognize, we're just part of the team, and the county commissioners are also part of that team, and we can't do it without everybody working together. So thank you for your cooperation.
Reviewing all the photos we took, and it was August 20th the last year that we did our little tour and we looked at all the properties. So it's been a year so that we've been working to make sure that this is done at the right price and to accommodate the work that needs to be done. And there have been a lot of people involved, and thank you, gentlemen, and let's get this thing built. All righty.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
See you next week. All right. Moving on. Consider a resolution to declare surplus and authorize an appraisal of property located at 1900 West Russell Street, parcel number 24701, legally described as Block 58, airport addition to the city of Sioux Falls, commonly known as the Minnehaha County Corrections Center, the
Community
Old Elks
Corrections Center,
Building.
Work Release, Old Elks Building, yes, it's gone by a variety of names, or just the big sign out there says 1900. Carol Muller, Commission Office. Before you today is a request to declare that property as surplus property. We used it for a while, several years after county purchased it from the Elks Club to become a place that we put prisoners, and originally Work Release, which has since gone away. But along the way, we had a fire. At the time we had started the construction, we appreciated Henry Carlson stepping up and making it feasible for us to, they did some regrouping on scheduling, so we went up faster than we had anticipated, so we were able to make that work. Anyway, Auditor Kite now has that off the ground lease, so you have a clean title and you are able to sell that property. So first step in doing this is to declare that property as surplus. And with that, Auditor Kite, as you know, is just doing the tax deed properties. So that group will put a price, that appraisal board will put a price on what that value is. Once we have that, we will come back to you and we will ask for a method of sale, which you will consider either sealed bid, auction, or listing with a realtor. That'll be the next step for you to do that you'll get in probably a little over a month from now.
First step, declare it surplus. Commissioner Bender, did you have something? No?
I'd like to make a resolution to get this done.
All right, so a motion for the
Second.
resolution. Motion by Bender, second by Benninga.
I have to call the roll.
Call the roll.
Barth,
Aye.
Bender, Benega,
Aye.
Hiberger,
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Property is on the road to surplus. All righty. Liaison reports. Commissioner Heiberger.
This past week was the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners Executive and Board meeting, and so I just thought I'd go through a couple different things. One of the topics that we talked about was Ide Bailey has put forth a letter of engagement that they would do a consulting services for counties on the American Rescue Plan Act. Idaho has, they're doing, this is nationwide, not just Minnehaha County or South Dakota, but Idaho has engaged with them and will be working with them. Discussion from the Board of Directors was, do we want to maybe ask for a white paper that would be all of the questions that were submitted by other states and just get a question and answer from them? Who would pay for it? Would the association pay for it? Or would they just ask the different counties who's interested in the white paper and they would pay for it themselves? So there's a few more questions to be answered about it, whether it would be worth the money or not that would come from it and what would the cost be. I do have the letter, the consulting letter, and I will give it to Carol to photocopy and send you a copy or to electronically copy that and send it to you if you just want to look at that. We also talked about House Bill number 1259, the Rural Access Infrastructure Bill that went through. LTAP and the Department of Transportation are doing a lot of training. They've been tasked with that by the legislature to do the training on that. There is information on the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners website. The whole little booklet, fact sheet, whatever you want to call it, that is now on our website if you want to go in and look at it. We had only one copy to pass around to the commissioners to see to kind of review what they put together. That will be coming out to each county once it gets off the printing press. They had just sent the, I don't know if it was a DOT or LTAP, I don't know who's printing it, but whoever is printing it had just sent it to the printers, so those copies are not out. It's just a small informational booklet. And I think our highway's on top of that. They're doing their training and looking at how that's going to work. That money evidently has already been given to the counties, according to what we were told. That money has already been given to the counties for small structures. Yes, and our auditor is saying, yes, that money has been given to us. We did kind of do a roundtable really quick on, where different counties were sitting on the marijuana, medical marijuana, and I would say that all counties represented there were similar, with the exception of Lincoln County, were similar to what Minnehaha County is looking at and doing just one dispensary and moving slowly to see what actually happens before moving forward. We did talk about fees. There was a little bit of discussion about what was appropriate and what was not appropriate. We also did our resolutions, which I'll just kind of give you a really quick lowdown on those. We did pass all of them with the exception of one, which we just added to our policy statement. So would you prefer I read them, or would you prefer that I just send you a copy of what?
I think you send a copy.
Okay, I'll have Carol send a copy of what we did pass. One of them that we did talk a little more extensively about was one that Minnehaha County brought about youth involuntary commitments for mental illness into our JDC, which is, I believe, against state statute. And our attorney and also our lobbyist, Eric Erickson, was there, and he went right out and called one of the state representatives from, I believe, Brookings, and he was quite interested to know that that was even happening, and he is sits on one of the summer mental illness task force, and so we'll be digging deeper into what is actually happening with our kids. And these are youth that have already been diagnosed as mentally ill, and they're not being put in JDC for infractions of the law. They're putting there specifically because of mental illness, involuntary commitments, and that's not where they're supposed to be. So I anticipate that we will actually have some legislation or see something happen with this, I hope, because it is not where those kids need to be. It's the worst thing you could do with a kid who's having mental illness issues is to stick them in a locked cell in a JDC with kids who are in there for violations of the law. I think that's about it. We have the SDACC convention coming up in Rapid City in mid-September, and it actually correlates with our second Tuesday of the month, which we don't have a commission meeting, so we won't actually be taking time off. The numbers so far have been pretty low. There's a golf tournament ahead of time on Sunday, and the convention starts on Monday, and it's just Monday and Tuesday, and I would encourage you to consider going. Rapid City is also always beautiful. They have a wonderful spousal event organized. I think it's actually almost better than the convention. They were concerned commissioners would jump out and go to their spouses' events. So, and then I have one more, and that was I attended one of the Farm to Fork events put on by the Soybean Council this last week. It was out at the Scott Farm, which is south of Valley Springs. They put on a very nice program, talked about the importance of agriculture and how important it is for us to continue to support agriculture in Minnehaha County. Agriculture is the #1 industry in the state of South and Minnehaha County, even though you'd probably think it's some of the industries from the city of Sioux Falls, it's not. And so part of the importance of, there was a lot of elected officials there, and I was the lone commissioner, I think, there, just to express the importance of preserving what we have and upholding our right to farm in Minnehaha County. So it's good, very good.
Commissioner Bender.
I just would piggyback on something that Commissioner Heiberger said, that the same issue comes up with adults for involuntary commitments. And I know that the sheriff has been working on that and had some very positive conversations just in the last couple weeks with some of the mental health officials in our area to try to make sure that there's arrangements made so that doesn't happen to adults either.
Right.
Commissioner Barth.
Cindy, I'm sorry I couldn't make that event. I had a conflict. Did it also include a visit to the brewery out that way?
Yes, I admitted that. There's a brewery across the street from the Scotts. I don't remember the name of the brewery, but very nice place. Very, very nice place. And I would encourage you, if you're looking for a fun brewery in the country, that's a nice place.
The first one that we allowed in the rural county. And we changed the rules slightly so that they did not have to live on the same property. For the wineries, they have to live on the same property. But the wineries serve beer. And the brewery doesn't serve wine. And every time I go out there, they're closed. I think they're only open on Saturdays or something.
They said they have events on Fridays and Saturdays. I didn't talk to them any more than that, but it was a very nice place.
Well, and additionally, going back to the mental illness thing, that's been a struggle all these years here with the jail. And I remember Judge Long sent a young man down to Yankton, and they sent him back. And so he had to stay in jail. Go ahead, Cindy. I'm sorry.
I'll make one more comment that if you look at our last report from the JDC, it shows that those numbers of mental illness commitments have into JDC has really spiked this last year during COVID. I don't know that it's COVID, but the numbers have really gone up. So.
I know at Rotary yesterday they talked about 1 in 5 children currently in grade school are experiencing some mental health crisis, temporary or long-term, whatever. So it's not too surprising, and it's probably is COVID-related. And I think most people are grateful, my own opinion, that kids are going back to school because kids need that structure and they need that social environment. So, all righty. Hopefully we see improvements. So, other liaison reports. New business.
I want to say one more thing.
Please.
The Minnehaha Conservation District people had a meeting concerning the Givik acreage off of Wall Lake, and they're looking at expanding the parking lot and the walking trails.
All righty. Any other new business? Old business, I have one if nobody else does. On one of our reports today, and I meant to bring this up, the auditor's account with the county treasurer, we have a number of NSF checks. I just wanted to maybe open up the conversation with our treasurer. These checks vary from low 30, $30-some to up to almost $4,000. And I was under the impression that we're going to be changing on how we accept checks. Are we still doing that?
Well, Chris Swanson, County Treasurer. So I sat down with Kelly and Cindy and Karen yesterday talking about the NSF checks. I hadn't really gotten into those yet, but didn't realize how big of a problem they were until just actually, a couple months ago. So what kind of comes down to, I'm just going to go with some of these questions. So how are they dealt with? So what happens is when we get a bad check, we sent out a notice of dishonor, which is basically got a little courtesy letter saying, hey, your check was bad. Can you make that right with us? When they don't pay that, then there is a distress certificate or a warrant for collection that goes out to them. And if I'm wrong, you can tell me, okay? Because this is still kind of new to me. And so they're sent that. Is that I think that's certified, correct? Certified letter?
The notice of dishonor.
The notice, yeah. Okay, so the collection is, and then we get a notice back that, they received it. And then it goes to the sheriff's office. And then after that, if they can't collect, I believe it comes back to us. We hold it for 30 days, and then it goes to the state. And the state then puts it on the South Dakota cars. They can't do anything with their getting a title or getting tags or anything like that. But in the meantime, they come to our window, and we don't know it's a bad check yet. So we're handing out their tags. We're doing a title for them. We can't really do much about that. Once they have it in their hand, we can't go and say, hey, I need that title back, or I need those tags back. It's already been done. We can't revoke that. However, property taxes are different. You get a bad check, which we just got a bad check here, a big one, not long ago. That's at the sheriff's office right now. You can revoke that. You can take that property back, like, okay, it's like they never really paid their taxes because the check was bad. So, excuse me. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We're talking about scanning checks. I'm kind of all over here, so you can stop me if you want me to go on. But so scanning checks, we have been talking about doing that too. However, we haven't gotten to that point due to the fact that we are taking I kind of changed the rule where we are serving our customers up till 5 o'clock. They come in with the title, if they're there by 5, we have got to serve these people. You can't be standing in line and all of a sudden, however, if they come in with 5 titles, we can't get them all done at 5 o'clock. But so we're still collecting checks at that time. One of the conditions was we'd have to have those checks scanned, balanced out by 5:30 to the bank by 5:30. We haven't been able to figure how to do that in that timely manner. And that process does not catch insufficient funds. One thing that we have been talking about down there, and I don't know if this is an option, talking to you about it, how about it doing a, electronic fund transfer where it's kind of like when you go to Sam's Club or whatever, you give them your check blank, it runs through the account. I think it draws out right then and there to know whether or not you have an insufficient fund or not. So that way we would know, we wouldn't be able to take the check, we wouldn't take the check, we wouldn't be able to do their business there until they make it right. That's one of the options. Another thing we've been talking about is, do we stop taking personal checks anymore? Just go cash or credit card. We still have to do business checks, obviously, because a lot of businesses do send us checks. We've never had an issue with them. It's the personal checks that we're having issues with. So I guess that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if you've got ideas for us.
No, I guess personally, I'm looking at the list. We got over $42,000 in NSF
We
checks
do.
out there.
And we just got 2 yesterday and another one today.
Okay, and some of them are business, I look at an LLC, and there's a few, not
Yeah,
not
not
a lot.
many, yeah, you're right. The last time these were addressed, which kind of shocked me, 2018 was the last time anybody did anything with our non-sufficient funds. So this is a top priority right now in the office.
What did we do in 2018?
That was our last time we ever went after a non-sufficient fund.
Okay.
I also, and I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that there were some that were even older than that. Jeff, maybe
There
you
are.
remember
We've got
that
a bunch
we
of-
just dismissed because we didn't know what to do about them. So
That's
it's
what we
not.
wanted, the state's attorney's office to kind of give us some guidance on that. What do you want us to do with those old checks? Do we write them off? Do we still try to collect? I'm sure a lot of them are probably long gone.
And I know one of the complaints of retailers in general is that our state's attorney's office is too busy to pursue.
I know.
checks. I mean, it's just,
I know.
it's low, low, low on the priority list. No, nothing, it's just
I-
the way it is.
I don't know what the expense with the electronic system would be, but I think that would be worth checking into.
I think
Running
we
checks
should.
through that scanner and pulling it out of the account immediately. I don't know. I can look into stuff like that and see,
I'd like
you
to see
know.
it.
And I don't know, would you ever consider not taking personal checks anymore? I know a lot of people come in, they don't want to use a card because there is a 2.35 service charge on that, on the amount that they're charging. And some of these people will come with $8,000 and give me a credit card. It's like, are you sure you want to do that? But they do it. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I would personally be interested in having you look into this more and
Okay.
come with a proposal as to what you think would
Okay.
be the best solution for managing that process.
and maybe another option would be, they can only write a check up to a certain amount. I don't know.
Not gonna catch the small stuff
It's not,
anyway.
it's not going to catch the small stuff, anything under, your $500, and we have a lot of those,
Do we bid our swipe fee for the credit card? Has that been looked at? 2.35, I don't know if that's a good number or.
We
I
looked at
think
that
that's
just
high,
a
but maybe
couple
that's
years
pretty-
ago, I think, didn't we, Carol? Wasn't that part of the?
Started it within the last 4 years,
Yeah,
as
within
even
yeah.
using credit cards,
Yeah.
and we didn't look at it at that point.
Maybe there's another company, I don't know. Oops, excuse me.
And I know Monty wandered through here, but we can refresh a little bit and look at that, because yes, there were some things with GovTech when we brought on board, but there were some contracts already in place that had been signed by previous elected officials. You remember on that, Monty? So we can.
Thanks for
look
paying
at that
attention,
again.
Monty.
It'll be good to revisit.
Yeah, I think that 2.35 was proposed by GovTech, the vendor who partnered with the credit card processor. I think that's competitive. I believe the previous vendor was a little bit more than that. So maybe something that can be evaluated, but that's just their fee for their part of the process, and I think it's reasonable, but something we can look at.
It's not my world, I was just asking, so, okay. Commissioner Barth?
Commissioner Heiberger is absolutely right, and we used to have pages of old checks that had bounced, and we got tired of looking at the same names years later, and we sort of cut it off there. But let me say that the personal check aspect, I may look like an elderly person, but there are people older than me that may not be able to adjust to. And actually, I would encourage everybody to do their business by mail. You don't have to come down and stand in line. You can do it by mail, and
And a lot of our renewals are by mail. We get a lot of that. You still see a handful in line, but most of our line is actually titles. The amount of titles that are coming into the state right now are phenomenal.
do people that mail in checks bounce them?
Not, I guess I don't know the answer to that, Commissioner, but I can look into that, the mail-ins. My guess is no, it's usually the ones that come up to the window. But I can look into that.
If I go to the kiosk, am I charged a swipe fee to renew my tags?
Are we? Okay, we are, yeah.
Okay. My wife does it, so
Is
I
it a
didn't.
$1.50? Okay, it's a buck, I was gonna say, it's a $1.50 fee, okay.
Okay, interesting. All righty, okay. Thank you very much. Sorry
Yeah.
for putting you on the spot, but.
Oh, that's all right.
I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to look for a motion to go to recess for about 8 minutes here.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're at recess.
There's still a lot of people